Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS Summit partners issue urgent EFIN scam alert to tax professionals. IR 2021-34, February 10th, 2021, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service, state tax agencies, and tax industry today warned tax professionals of a new scam email that impersonates the IRS and attempts to steal electronic filing information numbers, the EFINs. The Security Summit partners said the latest scheme, arriving just before the start of the nation's tax season, should serve as another reminder that tax professionals remain prime targets for identity thieves. These thieves try to steal client data and tax preparers' identities that will allow them to file fraudulent tax returns for refunds. So unfortunately, due to all the circumstances happening this year, fraud is probably up. And of course, the tax professionals and the tax preparation process is going to be a prime target for fraud. One, because it has the identity on it, which could be marketable itself, including social security numbers and personal types of information. And two, because oftentimes they can target and get back basically refunds even if no tax liability is due. So that if they can actually process a tax return, they may be able to get access to the refundable credits like the earned income tax credit and possibly a child tax credit or something like that. And therefore, there's an incentive to file fraudulent returns in order to try to take advantage of that. So obviously, tax professionals, and when we are preparing our tax returns, we need to be aware of this and be careful with the information that we are dealing with. The phishing emails seem to be remaining one of the top or primary ways that people do these types of scam, which basically, of course, means that they're going to in some way give an email that looks legitimate, trying to get information, and this information possibly the number that would be used for the filing of the tax return, so that they can then, use that information elsewhere. So, quote, phishing scams are the most common tool used by identity thieves to trick tax professionals into disclosing sensitive information, and we often see increased activity during filing season, end quote, said Commissioner Chuck Rettig. Quote, tax professionals must remain vigilant. The scammers are very active and very creative, end quote. The latest scam email says it is from, quote, IRS tax e-filing, end quote, and carries the subject line, quote, verifying your EFIN before e-filing, end quote. The IRS warns tax professionals not to take any of the steps outlined in the email, especially responding to the email. So obviously, when you have a phishing email, what you want to do is be able to identify it. And if you can identify it, then you don't want to respond to the email or click anything on the email, download anything on the email, leave it alone, delete it. So that's the goal. Obviously, when we look at an email, the goal of the fisherman that's sending the email is to make the email look legitimate, in this case, impersonating the IRS in order to gain trust. So you take action to the email directly. Also, just note that if you get something from the IRS just in general, whether it be the tax professional or somebody else, then one way to look into it is going to the IRS website directly and trying to look at it from the source rather than going from the email to whatever source they are. In other words, instead of responding to the email or going to some link from the email, go to the IRS website directly or whatever website that is being impersonated. Don't click on something to go to the website, but go to the website directly and see if you can then research it if it looks like something that could be actually legitimate. So the body of the bogus email states, in order to help protect both you and your clients from unauthorized fraudulent activities, the IRS requires that you verify all authorized e-file originators prior to transmitting returns through our system. That means we need your EFIN, e-file identification number, verification, and driver's license before you e-file. So that's not good. That's a lot of information. Please have a current PDF copy or image of your EFIN acceptance letter, the 5880C letter dated within the last 12 months, or a copy of your IRS EFIN application summary found at your eServices account at irs.gov and front and back of driver's license email in order to complete the verification process. Email, fake email address. So if your EFIN is not verified by our system, our ability to e-file will be disabled until you provide documentation showing your credentials are in good standing to e-file with the IRS. So then it has copyright 2021, e-file, EFILE, all rights reserved, trademarks, 2800 East Commerce Center Place, Tucson, Arizona 85706. So tax professionals who receive the scam should save the email as a file and then send it as an attachment to phishing@irs.gov. Once again, phishing@irs.gov. They want to report these types of things so they can track them and hopefully stop them. They also should notify the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration at www.tigta.gov. There's a link to that here to report the IRS impersonation scam. Both the TIGTA and the IRS Criminal Investigation Division are aware of the scam. Like all phishing emails, it attempts to bait the receiver to take action, opening a link or attachment with a consequence for failing to do so, disabling the account. So there's always a kind of a threat of something they're going to do if you don't take the action, and there's usually a timing thing that's going to be involved. This is urgent. It's tax season right now. You got to do it right now. Take the action, or else you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. So anytime you see that someone's pressuring you with that amount of urgency that takes some type of action, oftentimes the thing you want to do is to stop, take a step back, and don't take the action. Think about it a little bit more. So the links or attachment may be set up to steal information or download malware into the tax professional's computer. In this case, the tax preparers are being asked to email documents that would disclose their identities and EFINs to the thieves. The thieves can use this information to file fraudulent returns by impersonating the tax professional. So note, you need this information generally in order to file the tax returns. So the people that get this information then may be able to use it to file fraudulent tax returns or help them to do so. And if they file fraudulent tax returns, they're usually looking for those kind of like the refundable credits, such as the earned income tax credit or child tax credit and whatnot from that point forward. So tax professionals also should be aware of either common phishing scams that seek EFINs, preparer tax identification numbers, the PTINs, PTINs, or e-services username and passwords. Some thieves also pose as potential clients, and especially effective scams currently because there are so many remote transactions during the pandemic. So obviously, you know, if you get an email from someone and they're looking to be a client or acting like a client, they're asking for information, and you're in the middle of busy season, you're trying to get things done, then you may not scrutinize the information as closely as you otherwise should at that point. But we got to be careful again. It's all, you know, people are kind of trying to interpret and impersonate the clients. So you want to double check with the clients outside of the contact that you originally get, which will typically be an email typically. So the thief may interact repeatedly with a tax professional and then send an email with an attachment that claims to be their tax information. The attachment may contain malware that allows the thief to track keystrokes and eventually steal all passwords or take over control of the computer system. That's not good. Some phishing scams are ransomware scams or schemes in which the thief gains control of the tax professional's computer system and holds the data hostage until a ransom is paid. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has warned against paying a ransom because thieves often leave the data encrypted. So if someone steals the data, they're going to steal the data and say, hey, I've hacked into your data. Your computer's dead unless you pay me, and then I'll remove the ransomware. But at that point, once you pay them, they really have no incentive to remove the ransomware anyways because they already have the money. So what's the point at that point? So really, you know, it's probably, oftentimes it seems like you're probably not going to, you know, recover anything if you pay the ransom in any case. You know, you might just say, hey, it's a loss. It is what it is. The whole thing is gone, and then go forward rather than going through the torture of trying to deal with someone who's asking for ransom when you have no leverage in the in the negotiation. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBA, okay, for additional information and help tax professionals should review publication 4557, Safeguarding Taxpayer Data. There's a link to that here. And identity theft information for tax professionals. There's a link to that here as well. There'll be a link to this in the description.